it's hard to believe how we were, but we were isolated. And I don't even know how he would have found out about such a thing as mink ranching. But he pictured having a mink ranch. And he had learned that people did this and sold the furs. And of course, trapping was the main industry for the native people. And he thought that he could do this. I must have been about 4 years old, and leaning down, looking into the well where he was digging, and a mink coming up and biting me on the foot. And these wild mink were ferocious. And I remember he had I had very small feet at that time, and his mouth fit right over my foot, and he bit right into my foot. My father died the spring of '39, about this time of year actually. And my mother took over the mink ranching. They were just about to move the mink from the old ranch into his new ranch, which he had just completed building. He had gone across the lake with men and horses and had brought a load of logs back. It had melted and froze, and he saw logs slipping off a sleigh, and he ran forward to stop the logs from falling, and slipped on the ice, and the logs went over him. So he died 3 days later.
My name's Kevin Attia. I was born and raised in Victoria Beach. I guess my first recollection of being paid a wage was when I was 8 years old, and I walked about a half a mile down to my aunt's mink ranch and watered her mink each day. Got $1 a day for that, which was a pretty big deal back then. We all worked hard. We all worked from youngsters, and it was just expected. It was just a way of life. Our parents worked hard. They most all of them in those days had mink ranches, and mink ranching was the industry in Victoria Beach. There were mink ranches that ranged in size from probably 500 or 600 mink to many, many thousands of mink. It employed a lot of people. One of the big things with mink ranching was a couple of times a year these mink ranches had to be cleaned. How that was done was you would use pitchforks and fill wheelbarrows full of the manure that piled up under these mink sheds. And the big deal was when you got old enough and strong enough, you would wheel a wheelbarrow full of this manure from ground level up maybe a 2x12 plank onto the back of a 3-ton truck. And you better get it right, because if you didn't get it right, you went off the plank and there was quite a mess. So mastering that was a big deal for a young guy. As a kid growing up, I worked hard, no different than cousins, brothers, other relatives, friends. We all worked hard as kids. It was a feeling of responsibility, a feeling of duty. Our parents all worked hard, our grandparents worked hard. We were just expected that this was part of what we were to do. And it never seemed out of line. It never seemed cruel. It was a way of life. And we all had a great life doing it.